Hello, we're back. I'm back. And you're back. Thank you for being here. Wonderful. Hi, Sheila. Lovely. So, part 4 of Wise Effort. So, I'll begin just for folks that are tuning in for the first time to introduce myself. I'm Jill Davey, and I'm one of the Dharma teachers with True North Insight. True North Insight teaches Vipassana Insight meditation retreats in Canada, and we offer courses and personal support, many weekly sitting groups. So you can see all of that on truenorthinsight.org website. And I live in Southern Ontario and am offering this little series. This is the 4th of a 4-part series on wise effort or right effort, wholesome, skillful efforts of particularly states of mind that I was really noticing this last week how practical this is for me. And I really hope it is for you as well, that I really use it a lot in my day-to-day life when I notice I'm caught or not paying attention to beauty and kindness, and it's something that I find quite practical. Before I go further into the talk tonight, I also would like to offer that you, if you're able to participate in the chat function here, please go ahead and if you have any suggestions of other topics, our next sit that I'll be sharing here is on Saturday, and I might talk about intention. Wise intention is one thing that's come up for me, but also I was thinking about the elements. I find that a really helpful practice, and I think I might lean that way into the elements of earth, water, fire, and air, and how those can be practices and supports for us. So you could let me know if either of those tweak your interest, or if there's some other topic or question you have about practice, about life, that you would like some more guidance on, please feel free to add that into the comments. And if you're not able to participate in the live chat, you could email me through the True North Insight website, attention to Jill Davey, or go to my website, which is riversoundretreat.com. Okay, so open to topic suggestions. And any more about that? Yeah. And also questions are welcome in the chat here about these practices in particular, or whatever else you may need support with. So helpful for me, and hopefully it may be helpful for you, just to take a few settling breaths here before I go on with the topic, and then we'll do our practice. I like giving the talk first because I find it informs the practice. I like doing it that way. Some people do it the other way around. But just taking a few mindful, settling breaths, calming and feeling where you're resting and whatever posture you're choosing to be in tonight. I also find it helpful to see if there's an intention that's helpful for you to bring into this period of time, this hour, if you're able to be here for the full hour. What is it that you hope to receive or bring to in your presence? may this teaching and practice serve the highest good for all beings. Yeah, so I think it was just yesterday. There was some stress happening in our home with family member that felt they'd made a mistake in the application to receive financial support in this time of the pandemic. And it's been a few weeks and they hadn't received anything, and other people were getting notification really quickly that it was coming, or they've already received it. So it was very stressful. And then trying to navigate the employment insurance websites and is extremely, I found, and others I was with, there were 3 of us working on it, well, 4 of us then, very complex and confusing. And and of course, because of the high amount of need, there's not really anybody available by phone to walk you through it. There's no like live chat person, because of course they're just overwhelmed with the influx of people asking for support. But so all this is just to describe how the mind states and emotional states were really escalating in our home. And some people were getting really stressed and upset and afraid and sad and frustrated, and everybody had their different ways of responding. And of course it is affecting this being as well. I'm not at all suggesting I was not a part of that. But at some point I really noticed, these wise efforts, and I really noticed, like, whoa, what's going on here? This is very painful. Really stuck in a lot of, whatever, agitation and frustration and impatience or whatever. Okay. So I first stopping, recognizing, noticing what it was, and then noticing this is painful. I don't want to continue feeding this flame or fire. Fueling this is not helping anybody and is a painful state for me. So first acknowledging it, feeling the effect of it, the pain of it, the dukkha, the stress of it. And then, okay, what's needed? How can I abandon this? Because I was, caught in mental proliferation around it. How can I drop this? Abandon this, which was our second wise effort. When unwholesome, unskillful states have arisen, how do we abandon them, overcome them? And it was really just by recognizing, it was kind of a pretty light one for me, just by acknowledging and recognizing what was going on. It was already loosened a lot. And then I brought in a little bit of the what we talked about in the second part of abandoning unwholesomeness. It's antidote or opposite of some metta intention. May I be peaceful, may I be kind, may I be calm, just saying these things to myself internally. And that really helped to calm the system and reset, moving into whatever was next. And then, yeah, then it passed. But and then also today, when I got up and we went for a walk this morning, I was really trying to be intentional about the parts, that we talked about in part 3, how to cultivate skillfulness, wholesomeness to arise. And so I had this as an intention. I'm going to really practice with this and go into this walk with this intention to cultivate the wholesome, because it's really easy. It was really easy to just, go over the news again, go over the worries again, or what about this, and what if that happens, and when's it going to end? And it's so easy to just slip into this. So having this intention, okay, I'm really going to try to cultivate that part 3 of wise intention, to develop and arouse what is wholesome and skillful. And so that involved opening up the other sense doors and really feeling the cool air on the skin. Felt great. And hearing the birds, and looking at the light and the trees, and and everything was really beautiful and pleasant, and the whole body, mind felt calm and happy. But it really took an intention. I noticed, like, it does take effort to practice wise effort. It does take intention. It's really a practical practice to work with these wise efforts in daily life. But it does take effort. You have to stop and say, oh, what's going on here? What's needed? Abandon this after it's acknowledged, and I really want to cultivate. And then tonight we're going to talk about the 4th, which is the last of the 4 wise efforts, which is, once a skillful, wholesome states of heart and mind and body have arisen, are present. The 4th is how to maintain them, even increase them, savor, deepen skillful states that have already arisen. And so I want to talk a little bit more then about what actually is a wholesome, skillful state. And we could list a lot of things that are helpful, but it does refer to actually 3 specific things. Just as the unwholesome, unskillful can be pretty much boiled down, all of the manifestations of that can be pretty much boiled down to greed, hatred, and delusion, or greed, aversion, and delusion. And so wholesome states are the opposite of that: non-greed, non-aversion, and non-delusion. These are the wholesome, skillful states that we want to cultivate their arising and maintain them when they have arisen. I'll talk more about that as we go here. And so non-greed. So this is kind of, we could phrase this more in the positive. So non-greed would be contentment. Another way to cultivate and practice and develop non-greed is generosity, of course. And so this is how to state that in the positive: contentment and generosity. And non-aversion, we can think of aversion, what that looks like, but if we're focusing here on skillful and wholesome states, non-aversion would be kindness, loving kindness, friendliness, perhaps forgiveness, patience. Non-aversion, contentment also falls in here. It's like, this is how things are right now, and not needing to get rid of how things are, but to find some skillful way of being with how things are. The 3rd one, non-delusion, if we phrase that in the positive, to be not deluded this comes about through studying, practicing, and investigation. And we spoke about investigation in part 3. Investigation means really feeling and knowing how things are, not so much thinking about how things are, not thinking about how things are, but knowing. When we have insights into the nature of things, we're seeing through delusion, and it's not a type of knowing that you pick up from a book or from a Dharma talk or from anyone else's opinion. It's something you realize, and when it's known, it's unequivocal. It's not debatable. It's I often just feel it as a cellular way of knowing, not a heady way of knowing, but like, oh, I really see impermanence. I really see this clinging is suffering. I really know the interconnectedness of all things. So these are what are wholesome and skillful: non-greed, non-aversion, and non-delusion. The difficulty and why these wholesome states really need cultivating is because we have what's called negativity bias. You may have likely heard of this. So there's a very strong tendency to give a lot more weight and attention and proliferation and fueling of the shortcomings of others and of ourselves. And this Dr. Rick Hanson has written a lot about this, as well as others. He's a psychologist, an author of many books, a meditation teacher. He has a great TED Talk that I would recommend, Dr. Rick Hanson. And so he talks about how this negativity bias, and how you may have heard this phrase, that we have a Velcro for the bad, for the negative, and Teflon for the good. So the good and positive and wholesome, pleasant things that we experience in our life tend to be experienced in this heart, mind, body, like Teflon, just slides off. And the negative is like Velcro, it really sticks to us. And, this is what really feeds these unwholesome mind states. And so therefore, we really need to pay attention to beauty and kindness, generosity, pleasantness, pay attention to wholesome mind states when they're present within ourselves, and water those seeds with mindfulness. Keep fueling them and inviting that to grow and become more stable. And this is skillful and wise. Dr. Rick Hanson talks about this as taking in the good, and how important this is as a practice. And I didn't really have time to research this as what the study and science is behind this. It's been kind of quoted, and then the quote gets passed on, and I didn't have time to dig back into the source of this, so I apologize if I'm passing on something that's not accurate. Yeah, so that's a little caveat with this one, but it is said, and there was, it's referencing some studies, I believe, particularly around giving feedback to people, and what that's the context of it, is that it takes seven positive statements or feedback to somebody to reverse or balance out one negative experience or one negative statement or this is particularly referred to in like a business context when you give feedback to employees, and people really like it. You could you have one piece of feedback that you want to give to somebody that's would be seen as a negative, and they'll only hear that. It's said that you have to give 7 positives to balance out the 1 negative, which, this really points to that negativity bias. But thankfully, we also have another bias in our brain chemistry called a confirmation bias. And this means that the brain will notice whatever it's looking for. We're well aware, I'm sure, that we have selective memory, selective interpretations of truth and reality. And so if we set our intention to this confirmation bias to really notice and look for and cultivate what is skillful and wholesome, because we know it will breed more contentment and kindness in the world and wisdom, then we know we have the confirmation bias on our side in this way. That if we set about to look for beauty, like on my walk this morning, set that intention, I'm going to cultivate wholesomeness on this walk. And then that's what I saw. It was quite lovely. And this is, as I've said before, is different than spiritual bypassing, which is when something is painful to just say, no, I'm not paying attention to that. Everything is white lights and butterflies. That is not what I'm talking about here. It's not what the Buddha was teaching. But it's to cultivate wholesomeness. So then how do we maintain this forthright effort is about maintaining wholesomeness when it has arisen? How do we maintain and even increase what is wholesome without clinging? Because maybe you can catch, that there can easily be a tendency to cling here. And we know that clinging is not skillful. So how do we cultivate this and even maintain and help it to grow without clinging? And so we do this by not grasping, but by fully attending, to really know and acknowledge the embodied sensation with kind attention, that when, to just really pay attention, to fully attend when skillfulness is present. And this is not clinging to it because, in the next moment, something very painful might happen, and then that needs to be attended to. Other ways of how to maintain skillfulness is, of course, by our daily practice of mindfulness, of meditation, of whatever practices you're using to cultivate wholesomeness for yourself. Going on retreat is wonderful. Of course, we can't go on physical retreats right now, but True North Insight is currently working on a retreat schedule. There's going to be lots of offerings coming up for home retreats where you'll be supported through home retreat practice with a group of people and a teacher, of course. So retreats are a way to cultivate and maintain these states. Of course, a community, which we have here, and you have, in all the different avenues of your life, the skillful, good company that you're cultivating. Studying, in particular, I would say studying the Dharma, but also studying all the new world teachings of kindness and generosity and wisdom. There's many traditions. It's also a way to maintain skillfulness, wholesomeness, is by avoiding intoxicants. And this does not mean, you can't enjoy a glass of wine, whatever but to notice when you become intoxicated. Because when we're not awake to how things are, not fully present, it's much, much, much easier to become unskillful. Check it out for yourself. Let me know what you find out. I have explored this for myself and noticing at what point, does the mouth get looser and etc. Protecting our sense doors. We talked about this with part 3 of how to, or was it? No, it was preventing. It was part 1, preventing unwholesome states from arising. We do this by protecting the sense doors, being careful what you take in. How many times are you listening to the news? And, it really speaks to this confirmation bias I was talking about. If you look at your news feed, like we all know how all these social media platforms have their algorithms, and they're going to feed you what you want. They're going to feed you what you click on, what you like, and or what you don't like, but you click on it, and you really get fueled up by that. So take a look what's in your feed, and that's, you're going to get what you're ingesting is what you're going to get more of. So see how much good news is on your news feed, because it's out there. It is out there. Another way to maintain, without clinging, maintain wholesomeness is with self-care and rest. Having a safe place to live, having safety, having gratitude. It's very difficult to cultivate and maintain skillfulness and wholesomeness when you're in a place of danger or fear or not well, not supported. Of course, all of these things then those are the things that need attending to, and it's very difficult to cultivate this. So that's what needs attention first. Practicing gratitude, of course. And also, we're asked to practice feeling the gladness connected with the wholesome. So when wholesomeness has arisen, is to feel the gladness of it and really acknowledge it. And how does that feel in the body? What state of mind is present? What state of heart is opened to? And really acknowledge that. The beauty of mindfulness is that it takes care of all the wise efforts, all 4 of them. With each of these 4, we've talked about different things to pay attention to bring them into balance. But mindfulness, in its deepest sense, it uproots the unwholesome, and it cultivates and develops, seeing clearly, vipassana, insight, wisdom, develops wholesomeness and uproots unwholesomeness. So practice. And probably one of you on the chat here will know the answer to this. Who is my favorite poet? Who can type that in the fastest? Who's my favorite poet these days? We'll see who gets it. All right, so I'll tell you. My favorite poet, Rosemary Watola Tromer. You've heard her name before. And the synchronicity her poem from today, which I've linked down below, is of course right on point with what I'm teaching. So, we're talking about how, and she sent this poem that she writes a poem every day and publishes, like posts it, and I put her link below. And the poem today is called not the what, but the how. So here's her poem. Mostly we forget. You got it, Lisa. Mostly we forget. Mostly the singular moments that felt so important, remarkable even, slip like raindrops into a pond. Most of my life is blur, is watercolor. But let me clearly remember tonight, dyeing my daughter's hair blue, singing along to the radio, laughing about nothing in particular. What I want to remember is how little it takes to make a moment light up from within. Light up like dew infused by the sun. Each moment a teacher. Our own home, the temple. So this is the how. How to cultivate the wholesome. How she wants to remember how little it takes to make a moment light up from within. So perfect. Again, Rosemary. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes our intention. We can do this. So let's practice now. Please make any adjustments you need to be comfortable. I'm going to adjust this piece of hair because it's unpleasant. It's distracting me. If anyone knows how to do virtual haircuts, oh my gosh, please let me know. So let's get comfortable here. The practice tonight, we're going to practice taking in the good and savoring this. And then we're going to practice turning our attention to non-greed, non-aversion, and non-delusion. And I'll be guiding this. If you feel comfortable with your eyes closed, you're of course invited to do that. Or if it feels good to have your eyes open and that also feels restful and peaceful for you, that's fine. And if you've been on these videos before, you can lay down if it doesn't make you too sleepy. Most often we need to have an uprightness in our posture to stay awake. And once you've settled into your posture, just invite a softening to drape around and over. A soft, kind of tension like a blanket wrapping around you. Allow yourself to feel a resting into that, a relaxing into being held in this moment. Relaxing any tension that doesn't feel like it's needed right now. Anything that can just soften. And now we'll Just wherever you are in this exact moment now. See if you can practice taking in the good. Just right here, right now, wherever you are. So for each of us, it will be something different. It may be the feeling of a soft fabric that's near you, or others, it may be are in your home with you, or animal companions that feel good or safe to be with. It may be just the goodness, the touch of this breath coming and going. Perhaps you can touch into the goodness of your intention. We can take in the good of having a home to be in right now, wherever you are. Having wellness, if you have wellness of body and mind right now, or whatever degree of wellness you have. Perhaps you have some nurturing food or a sense of security or safety. What's here for you right now that you can take in that is good? This usually rolls off of us like Teflon, and we're trying to make that experience a little bit more like Velcro, really. And to do this, it is said that we need to savor this for at least 10 seconds or more, 10 to 15 seconds at least, in order to give the brain and the body, the heart, a chance to really feel and absorb and know this good experience. Take a few more moments here, really savoring this, feeling how is this known in the body. The goodness of this spiritual community gathering together to practice. Now we're going to take the next few minutes here to practice with the first of the wholesome mind states and heart and body states of non-greed. To just notice and cultivate and grow, not needing anything else right now. Just for right now, non-greed. Just sitting, breathing, paying attention. Just this. And so when we notice the habit of mind of wanting something else arising by the mind moving to other thoughts of being somewhere else or having something else, being some other way within ourselves, we just notice that with kindness, and we come back and begin again. All right, now I'm just going to practice non-greed. Just being right here, right now, just this. And now we're going to practice noticing non-aversion. So we can practice non-aversion by cultivating its opposite of friendliness and kindness with our phrases of, particularly stay with yourself tonight, of wishing for yourself, may I be happy, may I be well, may I be safe, may I be peaceful. And if for you tonight there's any strong states of aversion present, and there is a lot of it these days. It's being fueled. So if that's showing up for you right now, if it's in relation to a particular person or group of people, you might include your metta phrases for them. May you be safe. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And then lastly, we'll practice non-delusion. So in this present moment, noticing the characteristic of everything coming and going. Thoughts are coming and going, sounds, sensations, emotions. Yeah, all the sense doors, everything that's touching your being is arising and passing. Every breath coming and going. And we can also attune to the non-delusion of practicing awareness of our interconnectedness. Not as an intellectual exercise, but a felt experience. Our hearts, minds, our intention, all connected. Affected by everyone and everything, all conditions showing up right now. And as we come towards the end of this practice, take a few moments to feel into your intention going forward. Your intention to cultivate and maintain wholesomeness, skillfulness, kindness, generosity, compassion. And your intention to be aware of, to protect against the arising of unskillfulness, and when it has arisen, how to be skillful with that, with kind attention and appropriate means of meeting with that we talked about. May I and all beings prevent, abandon, cultivate, and maintain wise effort. Thank you for your practice. So please feel free to come into the chat, the live chat, if you are able to access that. You can also email me or message me on Facebook if you're not able to and you have suggestions of topics you'd like me to talk about in the coming weeks, or any questions about practice that are showing up right now. And while you're thinking of that, I just want to move towards the closing here by a short read from Bhante Hanapola Gunaratana, who wrote this book, 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness, Walking the Buddha's Path. They also wrote an amazing book called Mindfulness in Plain English, which is also excellent. So this is about the Eightfold Path. And so Bhante has written here about skillful effort and used a lovely simile of climbing a mountain. So this encompasses the 4 right efforts in this description. So using skillful effort to prevent and overcome negative states of mind and to cultivate and maintain positive states of mind is like climbing a mountain. Before you begin your climb, you take precautions to prevent problems from arising on the way, right? You would make sure that you're physically fit and psychologically fit. You take some medicine in case of sudden illness. You put on sturdy hiking boots. You take a rope, a walking stick, food, water, and suitable clothing. So these measures are like the skillful effort of preventing negative states of mind from arising. You take all these precautions and, preparation to climb the mountain by getting the right stuff on hand. So then, despite your precautions, however, problems will arise, right? So we do our preventing, and then we still find, unskillful states of mind and heart arise. So in this analogy of climbing a mountain, he says, you get hungry, so you eat. You get thirsty, you stop to drink. When you need to answer the call of nature, you do so. When you are tired, you rest. If you get a high fever, you take the medicine that you've brought along. So these are the actions like overcoming unwholesome states of mind as they arise. You see, you apply the appropriate remedy for the particular need. So then our third one, climbing this mountain. You keep your energy up by resting, eating right, drinking plenty of water, and avoiding overexertion. These positive activities are like cultivating the wholesome mental states. So in this climbing a mountain analogy, taking care to cultivate the wellness of the mind and body on this mountain climb. And when after great difficulty you reach the summit, you feel great relief, satisfaction, and joy. You rejoice that you have, with effort, managed to achieve your goal. So, when we have cultivated wholesomeness, skillfulness, we acknowledge that, feel the joy of it. This is wise to do. And so that's a lovely analogy of the 4 right efforts and how they work together like climbing a mountain. Yes, daily practice. This is such a good time to do it. It depends. It depends on your life, Dan. But for many of us, we have more time at home, and how are we spending it? Let's look at how we're spending this time. It's a really great time to come back into your daily practice. In fact, it's a while yet, but the last week of May, I'm going to be offering a daily life retreat on, online. It'll probably be Zoom. And it'll start with a day-long retreat and then morning and evening practice. And then folks do whatever their day is going to be. So that might be a nice boost for your daily practice, Dan. And but there will also be, with True North Insight, other teachers are going to be offering weekend or day-long retreats coming up. Have you noticed the large, bright white heart on the wall behind you? Oh, in the corner, is it? Because of the lights? Yeah. It's my aura. No, afraid not. It's just the lights, but thanks. That's nice to point that out. That is lovely. Thank you. Yeah, Rick Hanson's work. Hardwiring for Happiness is Supriya is sharing Dr. Rick Hanson's book, Hardwiring for Happiness, shares a technique called HEAL. This can help with increasing wholesome states. Oh, HEAL. Are you able to write out, it's probably too long, like is HEAL an acronym for, is it HEAL for something? I haven't read that book. I'll look for that, Supriya. Thank you. If you're still online here and able to, like if HEAL is an acronym for something, that would be helpful to pop onto the chat there. He's got several books that I think he wrote Buddha's Brain. I should look them up, but we've got his name there, Dr. Rick Hanson, so folks can look it up. Oh, thank you, Supriya. Wonderful. Does anyone have any thoughts on other topics? I was thinking of doing the elements or wise intention. I'm not sure where we're going next. Something will come, but I'm open to suggestions as well. Any other questions about practice? Oh, there, I put my head in the heart there. You know, it's funny, when I was coming here to set up tonight, as you know, I can't do it at my house. I have to come into town because the internet is not good enough at our house. And I got here, there's a fair bit of setup that I need to do, clearing the space and lights and things. And then I realized I didn't have my talk, which I had, put a fair bit of time into. And so I was like, time was getting close. I had to whip home and get my talk and come back. But all the while I was practicing the right efforts of not getting too wound up. Oh, thank you so much, Supriya. So HEAL. This is a technique for increasing wholesome states from Dr. Rick Hanson. H, having a positive experience. So we're already having a positive experience. E, embellishing the good things. Yeah, really noticing. A, absorbing it with the body and senses. I love that. That is so important. Really, really important. Thank you. I should have said more about that in the talk. Really feeling the embodied sensation is so important. And then L, linking it to any negative thing that is present, like the load of dishes in the sink. Right. Well, that's interesting, linking it to the negative thing. So that kind of eases the Velcro-ness of the negative thing that has so much negativity bias, and helps to lessen that Velcro-ness by linking the positive with it. That's really interesting. I'll have to check that out. Thanks so much for typing that out for us, Supriya. Okay. Any other suggestions or questions? Yeah, exactly. Rewires our negativity bias. Thank you. Intention. Okay, great. Yeah. It's the first part of the middle path is wise intention. And it really will relate to what we've talked about with right effort. So we might go there on Saturday. So the next time I'm live here will be Saturday morning, 9 till 10. And as you know, TNI, True North Insight, has a whole week of teachings, different folks, French and English, on different times and different days of the week. You can find the schedule on True North Insight Facebook page or website. Down below, there's a link for Rosemary's poem that I shared tonight, and also a link to support True North Insight. We don't have any of our income from retreats to support True North Insight, and but we still have costs and cancellation costs. And there's also a link to support me if you are able. Thank you so much for showing up. That's the greatest support that touches my heart is that you're here and practicing. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Good night.